the stream that will be there on Facebook and YouTube, KUTV Kenya. Just go there, comment, say, my name is XXX, I am watching from X, and I feel X about this. And then give a shout out to anyone else who'd like to tune in to this show. If you're watching this for the first time, this is your best morning breakfast television show that you can kickstart your week on a successful tone. This is KUTV Rise Today, and the edition that you're watching right now is Biashara Tuesday. Biashara Tuesday, Business Tuesday. This is where we have conversations on business, the economy, politics, technology, just anything that is affecting your money stream, incoming and outgoing. How do we balance that out to ensure that you're making profit? That's our concern for this show. If you did watch yesterday, KUTV Rise Today, I was there on Art and Culture Monday, ushering in a new host, Ojwang Mariam. Not really new, but just a member of our team who's shifted to this amazing show that comes to you every Monday morning. So on Monday from 7 to 10 a.m., be checking out Art and Culture Monday with Ojwang Mariam before I come back here to bring you business on a Biashara Tuesday. So our concern and our focus of the day is going to be around those matters of business and how you are making money. And because it's in the second half of the year, I'm really interested in knowing how you've been in terms of your financial goals. What are those looking like? Have you saved? Have you invested? Ulikuwa unataka kuweka pesa MMF. How did that go? Have you done so? What are the returns looking like? What are your savings account looking like? What is your debt situation? How do we get you out of that? Uko na deni kutoka Tala to Mshwari to everywhere else. Let us know how that is, even if not just the exact figures, but you can let us know how the balance is like in terms of debt and in terms of the assets that you have. We're trying to make sure that you are staying afloat. And in that spirit, I just want to kickstart this week or this show by letting you know of something interesting that you can think about in where to place your money. And I have this prepared courtesy of Abojani Investment, who are a firm that gives you investment advice for every day, empowering you to get investor education. And this morning, let me give you some investor education. Have you ever felt like the moment you walk out of your door, it costs you money from the very moment you wake up to the time you hit the pillow? It's like money seems to be slipping through your fingers like water. So if I told you there's a way to flip this script, you wouldn't think it's true. But let me give you something to think about on how to turn around your everyday spending into a win-win situation. So every day you will come across products like Netflix, Microsoft, Spotify. You will buy airtime, you will buy data, you will take tea from your local shop or from your local tea company, let's say Kericho Gold Tea. You will also proceed to use maybe Uber or Bolt from point A to point B. You will use your digital banking app to transfer money from one point to the other. And then at the end of the month, you will pay rent to your landlord. What you don't realize is that the expenses are someone else. Your expenses are someone else's income. When you spend, someone else is earning. Shareholders of Safaricom will benefit when you are buying data or when you're buying airtime from M-Pesa to your line. Netflix investors are benefiting every single month when you're renewing your subscription. Same case with Spotify, same case with everything else. So the company is increasing their revenue when you are spending. And when you get into that Uber or when you're using your bank mobile app, exactly the same thing is happening. You're fueling the profits of the businesses and benefiting the shareholders. So imagine if instead of just spending money, you could also become an investor in these companies. That is something that you can do so that every time you're spending, it's like you're paying yourself. You're getting a percentage of that profit. By owning shares of the companies that you use every single day, you could earn a slice of the profits that you keep giving them every day. Just think around the things that you spend money on a daily basis. And that is reflected actually across a whole or a big population, which means you could earn just a bit of profit from everyone else's expenditure. In simple terms, by investing in the companies that you already spend money on, you can turn your everyday expenses into an opportunity for financial growth. So this is what you should do. Look at what you spend your money on every single day, and then you will be joyful as a customer of the same company because you're also a shareholder. So buy something from what you are spending on. You do not have to watch from the sidelines as others benefit from what you spend. So those are the places to think about. If you're wondering, where do I invest? What shares do I buy? Just think about the things that you spend money on a daily. That's my investment advice for you this day as we kickstart this show, and more conversations that are going to happen later in business. And of course, getting that feedback from you in terms of what it's looking like for you in the second half of the year in your financial decision making and in the businesses that you've opened so far. President William Ruto, let's go to the business of the Republic and the business of the globe at large. President William Ruto is currently holding conversations in South Korea, in the Korea-Africa Summit, which is presenting here an opportunity for strong ties between the Asian giant, that is South Korea, and to leverage our combined efforts and strengths to promote mutual growth and to address some of those global challenges, including something that is in the top of President William Ruto's mind, which is security, peace and security. While we are still speaking on peace and security, we are all very aware of the situation, the continued human suffering on astronomical nature that has happened in Gaza, between that, in the conflict that has happened between Israel and Palestine. Now we know that as of last week, there's a roadmap that has been put forward by President Joe Biden of the United States to bring an end to this escalating and widening conflict. And this is a jointly initiated comprehensive plan between the US, Qatar, and Egypt, which proposes that in the first phase, which is going to last about 6 weeks, there's going to be that ceasefire happening, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from populated areas of Gaza. There's also a release of hostages and the remains of those who've lost their lives, the return of Palestinians to northern Gaza, and the access to humanitarian assistance for conflict-affected persons. If this actually holds, and if this plan works, it's going to pave a way for the reconstruction programs that are going to follow after those 6 weeks in Gaza. So we're hoping that at the very least, we see that ceasefire happening the next couple of weeks. We'll be following up on this to see how it's affecting trade world in the Middle East, and of course in that whole Gulf region have been affected because of this war, and therefore prices have gone up or have been going up in the past couple of months. So we're hoping this excuse that our leaders have been using, the war between Israel and Palestine, comes to an end very soon, and the economic situation across major centers in the world is of course breathing a sigh of relief. This morning on the show we'll be touching on that on the international front, but also locally, the finance bill of 2024. I'm very keen on following up on what is happening there in terms of the submissions that have been given to the parliamentary committee that is in charge of this. One thing they're saying is they will be rejecting every single submission that has been done against the 2.5 tax on motor vehicle circulation. So, kama ulikuwa na expect hautalipa 2.5% on motor vehicle circulation, that is a tax that is effective as of July, the next financial year, in a couple of weeks' time. That is going to happen whether we like it or not, according to the committee, but all the other submissions, they will be considering. That conversation, I'm actually picking it up with my first guest here of the day. We're having a conversation around youth and engagement in civic or governance space, and I'm sitting down with Philip Mwangale, who is a governance consultant. He's letting me know of the space of the youth in this process of finance bills. They have become really popular from last year, the finance bill of 2023, now the finance bill of 2024, before we get here, the next financial year's budget. What is the space of the youth in all of these conversations? What can you do to turn around some of these provisions which are there in the finance bill? How can the youth be involved in engagement? How are, of course, the youth participating in elections? We know that there was a large number of them who steered away from the 2022 general elections. How can we ensure that participation is increased and also engagement is also boosted in these spaces where conversations are happening in terms of governance? So youth and engagement in the civic or governance space. That's the conversation I'm having with Philip Mwangale. Just a few minutes right after this. He's already here with us, so that's a conversation you can be excited to have as you kickstart your day. Later, we'll pick up more of that in the newspaper review section with Kemboi Felix, who is a strategic analyst and leader, as well as Richard Odero, who is a youth leader and founder of the Youth Space Kenya. We're looking at what is hitting the headlines this morning. But of course, because they are youth, we're continuing that conversation on youth engagement and participation. Because the more we engage and we participate in governance, we can assure that the policies which are being made in the Republic are in our favor. We are making money, and we are where the conversations of money are happening. That's the focus of our show here on Biashara Tuesday. So engage with me on social platforms and let me know what you think about what I've highlighted here as a conversation we're having, and of course anything else that you're seeing around your world. Grab your paper, the dailies this morning, look at something interesting that is of course of concern to you, and let us know on the SMS lines, on the WhatsApp lines, on social media at KUTV Kenya. You can tag me on my personal handles at Richard_OKENYE, and then we'll be having a wholesome conversation all the way to 10 a.m. So we have ample time to sample your feedback and also to give our response to what you guys are saying out there. So thank you and welcome to this show. Let's kick it off and have fun. Okay, I'm getting traffic updates for you, courtesy of you. If you're out there, let me know how the road ambayo huko, how is it looking like? Thika Road, najua. I was there a few, like 30 minutes ago or so, and it looked okay. So if you're having any new updates from that end, do let us know. Those updates also are coming to you courtesy of Motorist Association or at Motorist Office on Twitter, and also Ma3 Route pia wanatuambia real-time traffic conditions and transport situation in the city and its environs. We have here an unfortunate incident of a young motorist and a police officer that happened yesterday. This is also following another incident from which has hit the interwebs, and netizens are talking about a police officer having an altercation with a youth man by the name of Ian Njoroge. That has hit the interwebs, and we will be following up to see. Many of people here are saying they're ready to bail him out of the situation, and also this young motorist who's found himself in a very unfortunate incident. Do we talk with them with gusto when shooting their bosses, their colleagues, and themselves? All right. I don't seem to get the context of that question, but it's still on that incident of the young motorist. LPG truck, which was on fire yesterday at Outer Ring Road, Embakasi, and the situation is being resolved, has been from yesterday. You can use the road actually, so it's clear for you if you are afraid of anything there. There's a driver here who's lost the front number plate, and he's saying please contact him if you find it. So it's KDP 261Q. KDP 261Q. If you find that number plate, go to Twitter at Motorist Office or to Ma3 Route and just tag them and post it out there. The owner will find it. Here happening now, still that situation of the gas tanker which exploded yesterday on Outer Ring Road. Long distance drivers are cautioning their fellows to drive carefully and also to do necessary checks before they go on for their journeys to avoid such situation. It's totally wrong and should be highly condemned if anyone is attacking our police officers on the roads. That's a reaction from people who are out there, of course, talking about what has been happening since yesterday. Ma3 Route, naambiwa kwamba there's a complaint from Nairobi Lord asking NTSA Kenya. So what action have you taken against Naboke Sacco, which apparently here has killed 9 Kenyans while overtaking on a bridge? Are they protected? And how are these old and maintained buses still on our road? Huyo ni road user and I complain about Naboke Sacco. Where does Naboke Sacco operate? I am not aware. If you're out there and you're using Naboke Sacco, tuambie kunaendeleaje huko. Apparently there have been Kenyans who have been killed due to that. A reminder that 2.5% tax on motor vehicle circulation on the roads is going to go into effect as of the July 1st of this year. So in few weeks, prepare yourself. The least amount that you can give is 5,000 for your vehicle, and the highest is 100,000. 2.5% is actually valued on the value of your motor vehicle. So kama gari yako ni ya 5M, calculate 2.5% of that. That's how much you need to pay per year to the government, in addition to the insurance that you're also annually supposed to renew. Kenya has taken a significant step to ease congestion on the busy capital, Nairobi to Mombasa, because of that deal, $3.6 billion deal agreement to build a new expressway 4 hours to the coast. We've spoken about this in the previous shows, but just an update from the road users who are telling us to be aware that wale wanabiashara mkue ready once this is done. They're also hoping that there's going to be an expressway from Nairobi to Kisumu, so that you can also boost business towards that side of the republic. Also, information from Kenya, wanasema that there is a load limit, and that also is something that people should be educated about. Education of the public on the load rules and regulations. Make sure that you are reading the copy of your traffic rules and the Traffic Act in the Constitution to be aware of what violations you should not be committing if you're out there. And there are also some fines that you should be paying if in case you do of course commit those violations. We're giving you, I think, traffic information in the subsequent shows on the Traffic Act and traffic rules, because this has become very notorious on our roads. It's important that we also provide that civic education right here from Biashara Tuesday. So if there are things that you are not aware of, or you do not understand which lane to use on the highway, which side you should go, how many exits there are, which exit you should use, this kind of confusion we are trying to eradicate here on the show. So from next week on Monday, actually, when you come back here with Ojang Mariam and on Biashara Tuesday, we'll do our best to inform you and to educate you on traffic rules. That should take a very short period. Alafu, after a month or two, we should all be good out there as road users. All right, so that's as much as I have in terms of traffic updates. But if you're out there and have more, do let me know. The Kenya Met Department is giving me the weather outlook for 4th to 10th June. 4th June ni kuanzia leo to 10th June 2024. So for the next 6 days, there's an expected rainfall in a few areas in the Central Highlands in Western Kenya, the Lake Victoria Basin, and Rift Valley. The rest of the country will likely remain generally dry. So if you're not in Central Kenya Highlands, so that is Murang'a and some parts of Kiambu and Nyeri. If you're not in Western Kenya, so that's Bungoma, Busia and the likes, and Lake Victoria and Rift Valley, unafaa ujue kwamba the places you're at will be generally dry. Daytime temperatures, a high of 30 degrees will be felt in some parts of the coast, northeastern and northwestern Kenya. So coastal region, northeastern and northwestern, hakutakuwa na mvua, but those other areas I have mentioned are going to experience that. There's going to be cold and cloudy conditions in those places, strong winds as well. So you could be preparing for that, and also stay connected for real-time updates through the Kenya Met Department website. You can go and visit it. It's meteo.go.ke. METEO, Meteo, Meteorological Department.go.ke. That's where I get my real-time updates, and you should do that as well. Thank you very much for tuning in to that updates in terms of traffic and weather. Going for a short break, and then when I'll be back, there'll be those conversations which I highlighted earlier, happening here on Biashara Tuesday. We're starting with Mr. Philip Mwangale. He's a governance consultant, helping us know how the youth can participate in civic and governance conversations in the Republic of Kenya. This is Biashara Tuesday. Thank you for keeping it here. Short break. I'll be right back.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audiovisual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Kaunti maarufu kwa kuzalisha maziwa na ukuzaji wa majani chai. Pia, serikali ya kaunti inawahimiza wakulima kukumbatia mitindo mingine ya kilimo kuzidisha mapato.
Kama kuna kikundi moja inafanya biashara ya kuuza kuku, hao pia tumewafadhili kuwafunza jinsi ya kuhandle zile kuku kwa sababu wanaleta kwa wingi.
Haya yote tunakuletea katika Boresha Kilimo, toleo la kaunti ya Bomet.
Kilimo ni nguzo kubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu, pepo pani idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
This is your first time?
Yeah, I'm kind of scared, but I can do this.
Yeah.
Mess with me. Yeah, let's do this, man.
where we ask the coolest questions in science.
Let's go!
Is yogurt really just rotten milk? Why do humans need sharks to survive? How did a 12-year-old boy from Africa invent modern vanilla farming? How do you deliver medicine to a chimpanzee? Can poop be useful? How can you save the planet by reducing air pollution? To help us answer these questions, we are inviting some wonderful guests ideas from the world of science. They will enlighten you, make you hungry for knowledge, oxygenate your brain, and make your ideas flow. This is Engine Season 3. Let's go!
People say that the SRC has been by and large ineffective in containing the wage bill. Again, we've said that we've had a drop, but it's mostly due to economic growth. So we're wondering, since 2010, what has the SRC really done in terms of helping manage the wage bill?
If there's been a time that we've been super aware of matters of finance in the Republic, it has to be during this current regime of the Kenya Kwanza government. From last year, where 78% of Kenyans came out to say they're against the finance bill of 2023, some of the highest participation in terms of the bills which are tabled before Parliament. And this year, it's nothing unlike what we saw last year. We're also seeing a lot of participation in terms of the submissions that Kenyans have given for towards the finance bill of 2024. And there are a couple that the Kenyan youth should be very aware of. If we're speaking about, the increased cost of living, introduction of new taxes, which could lead to an overall cost of living increase and disproportionately affecting the young people who may also be on tight budgets and struggling to find employment. There's also the monetization of digital content or the digital market space, which I have been very keen on following up. There are concerns that this bill may contain or does actually contain provisions on taxing the digital marketplace or players in the digital marketplace. And this is going to trickle down to potentially stifle the growth, or maybe not. According to the government, it's supposed to help out. But from where we are sitting at, it looks like it might stifle the growth of the digital economy, which many young people rely on actually for income or business opportunities. We are speaking online gigs, freelancing platforms, and whatnot. But overall, we are taxpayers, and therefore it's important that we have conversations on how we can participate and how our voices can be heard in where these conversations are happening. I am here to bring you a conversation with Mr. Philip Mwangale, who's a governance consultant, and we are going to look at how the youth can boost their engagement in the civic or governance space. Hearing it from an expert, how he's been doing it himself, how does he get his voice heard in the spaces that he has been in, and what the youth can do in their smallest capacities to ensure that we're being heard. And in elections, why is it important that you participate, and how can we boost our participation in that kind of democratic process? Before I get ahead of myself, send me in your questions. I'll be forwarding them to the guest of the day, but first, let him introduce himself to us, and then we can go on with what we have prepared here for you. Welcome to the show, Mr. Philip.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Very glad to have you here.
Thank you. Well, you've already done the introduction,
Yes.
but just maybe to add, aside from consulting on governance, I also dabble in the area of law. So one of the things I do well, if you ask me what I do, I'll tell you I establish order out of chaos. And those are just platforms that I use to do that.
Okay.
So around governance, we consult with organizations, corporations, businesses and individuals, and really just to make them a better version of themselves. Because we may have certain things within us, certain skills, but we may lack the tools to actualize those skills. So we also speak into this governance and development space. We speak to government, we speak truth to power, where we have an opportunity to do so. And basically, I'm an active citizen. Yes, that sums it up.
Okay.
Yes.
In your days as a youth, how was participation like? There's a concern that the newer generation isn't really concerned with matters of governance because politics near how was it? Has there been a shift, or is this something that just has been like so?
Well, you've said in my days as a youth.
In your days,
I don't know. I don't know whether you're calling me old.
No, not at all.
But anyway, in answer to your question. If you look at the previous governments, there's a way citizens engaged with government during Kenyatta's time, during Moi's time, Kibaki's time, and so on. And this had a lot to do with how government was functioning. You look at people who grew up in the colonial period. Well, most of them are actually, a few of them are remaining. Those who grew up at the height of the colonial period, the interaction with government was very different. Most of them interacted with government from a point of fear, because the colonial government was a subjugative government. So they transferred that kind of fear into the Kenyatta regime. Everything and anything government said had to go. If you asked those who are slightly older, how they interact with government, they will tell you, you can't fight government. And that is where the term mkono wa serikali ni mrefu. It can find you anywhere. So there's that understanding of what government should be and how citizens should engage in government. And then came Moi's government. Those who were very active and grew up during Moi's government, at the height of Moi's government, Moi's government was very suppressive. So you had those who were coming from the Kenyatta regime, adults coming in from the Kenyatta regime. They didn't see the need of engaging government beyond the vote. Those who grew up actively during Moi's regime were activists because it was suppressive. They didn't understand why they could not have a voice. And it was also the period where people were going to school. There was a high number of people getting into universities. There was enlightenment across board. So the engagement with people then was an aggressive engagement with government. Any policy that was coming from government had to be fought at all levels. Any directive that was coming from government had to be aggressively fought. Then came Kibaki's regime. So those who had grown up in Moi's regime now were in Kibaki's time. Most of them, of the activists, had gotten into government. And things slowed down quite a bit because Kibaki's government was sort of, it was a pivot from what we were used to, from Kenyatta and Moi. Right. And so people relaxed quite a bit because government was working, institutions were working. You had very little corruption in the first years of Kibaki's government. And after we started having issues with Kibaki's government, there was also, a different understanding that you can't just let government work on its own. But there was also a number of people who were disillusioned by government. They thought we were having a savior, coming in to save the day. So things have been different across the years, across the regimes. Yeah. But today, the youth of Kenya today is only involved, and I say this understanding and acknowledging that there are youth who are really involved in how governance works. But the youth is mostly involved at the campaign political stage.
Yeah.
that is the most the average youth of Kenya today is involved in matters of governance. So after campaigns, they're engaged in rallies, they are used on social media by the politicians, in that campaign period, it ends there. And then wait for the next election cycle when they are activated to run around in campaigns, join this faction and that faction. But when it comes to engaging in governance, because you see government, if those who studied GHC and later social studies, we were taught that there are three arms of government. You have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary. So the citizen is nowhere in that space. But in a functioning democracy, you have to have the fourth arm of government, and that is the office of the citizen. So while we have institutions, we have elected representatives, the people still can exercise their power and authority by keeping these institutions in check. Yes.
That's how it can go beyond the exciting election period.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
What is it that, or what are these ways in which then we can ensure young people stay involved in making decisions that affect us all year round? As you mentioned there, apart from being activated during electioneering periods, it seems that we get disengaged after that. It's like we've put people in place, in power, let them do their thing, and the table, we don't have a space on that table. What channels? And then a youth asks himself, sitting at home, what am I going to do? I can't find my MP. I can't find my... and then we are also speaking, if we are going to that direction, mostly it's a conversation around the executive. How can I find my MP? How can I find my governor? There are these other arms also that we should keep in check. What are these channels?
Now, the solution to understanding or engaging in governance, not just for the youth, for any citizen, is to understand the governance structure itself. Now, we got ourselves a new constitution in 2010. A few structures changed, some were retained. Devolution came in. So the basic unit of governance before, in the pre-2010 constitution, was the sublocation. So you had sub-chiefs, and then escalated to chiefs, to a division, to a district, and so on. So you had what I think they're still there now, the chiefs' barazas. You had a chief holding a baraza. People in the location would come. If there are issues that were coming from the national government, they would be disseminated in that forum. After the 2010 constitution, what was known as the provincial administration changed. The outlook changed. We retained a few of the structures, but really it changed quite a bit. Now you have the national government administration. You have now the officers. They are called the NGAOs, National Government Administration Officers. So you have a county commissioner. You have a deputy county commissioner, and so on. Now with the devolution, the basic unit of governance is the ward. So you have the member of county assembly, and then you have the governor. That is at the county level. You break down that ward level. From the counties, you have sub-county administrators, or county administrators and sub-county administrators. Now, on the national front, you have members of parliament. That was retained as it was. And then you have the executive cabinet, the president. On the other hand, you have the judiciary. Now, it is critical to understand that you have to engage at that basic level. If we're in this locality is in a ward represented by a member of county assembly. The unfortunate bit about how we engage with governance, and not just for the youth, is the fact that most of us, and this came from way back from the colonial period, where if you wanted to vote, you would go back home. If we're in Nairobi, for example, and people wanted to vote, if you're from Kisii, you would go to Kisii to vote. But you live in Nairobi. So you consume the services of Nairobi, but you have voted in Kisii, voted somebody whose work you will not see, unless you're going back for the Christmas seasons. If you come from Kwale, you leave Nairobi and go vote in Kwale. So that has been the challenge. You have an urban population that largely
Yeah.
So they are more concerned about the local, tribal politics at home rather than where they consume services. So the first thing that ought to change is that we need to vote where our services are. That is number one. If you voted in an MCA here, you will be very interested in finding out why a particular road that falls under their docket has not been worked on. You will be very interested in why they are not engaging you in county legislation, for example. So that is the first bit. And number two, when it comes to continual engagement, one of the things that we need to understand is that the way government works is directly related to how we enjoy life. And that correlation has to be made. So if we walk around thinking that things just work without understanding that every decision that is made in Parliament on every Tuesday and Thursday affects me directly. Every decision that comes from cabinet every week affects me directly. If we have that understanding, then we will work to make sure that we are keeping these people in check. Let me just give you an example of the counties. You have a garbage problem, and we're in Nairobi, so I'll talk about Nairobi. Having a garbage problem is something that most of us have grown up and we have seen garbage. It's normal. But if you understood that that MCA that you elected or did not elect, because you may not have elected them.
Yes.
Is very instrumental in making sure that that particular service actually gets to you. You'll be very keen. You'll actually step into the offices almost daily in places where you have functioning democracies. I'm calling them functioning democracies because they have had time to work things out. You have queues of citizens in representatives' offices. Here, an MCA opens an office in some nondescript place and it remains closed until when he wants to entice people with bursaries and so on, and then you will see people getting to the office. So if we want to engage, even the slightest thing like garbage that has been left standing for a whole week, walk into the office of your MCA and make some noise. Make sure that they are there, because most of these people actually don't sit in those offices. The other unfortunate bit that we need to look at, and this is a long-term solution, is the fact that members of parliament sit in Nairobi. They have offices in Nairobi. Some of them have offices back in their constituencies. But most of them hardly go back to their constituencies when it matters. They will come on Saturday to attend a funeral. They will come on Sunday to attend a church service. But they're in Nairobi only on Tuesday and Thursday.
Even some MCAs.
Even some MCAs, you can imagine. So we need to start asking them to come and get our views, because they are representing us. It's unfortunate that we imagine that once we have elected them, then they have our voice, and that is it.
And that's it.
They need to come. They need to check every week what we are saying on the ground. So one of the things I challenge youth, on almost on a daily basis, make sure you're speaking to your elected representatives. For a long time, we have imagined that social media is the platform of engagement. But even these media spaces are not owned by us. If Musk tomorrow decided to close down, you have lost your platform. If Zuckerberg decides my Facebook, that is it. But we have institutions that we can really engage. When we were talking about the finance bill, I challenged a few youth in the constituencies. I told them, organize a meeting in your constituency and call your member of parliament. If they don't show up, you have an idea of where they lean. They don't lean with the people. But call your member of parliament and tell him what you need done about that finance bill. We need to start, having those kinds of engagement, because we do not have the chief's barazas where you can go and air out your frustrations. The people we are paying to do the job. Have to do the job. If you own a business and you have employees, you will make sure that you are telling them what they need to do. You communicate your expectations almost on a daily basis.
Right.
So that we need to do.
Okay. Speaking of unfortunate things, you've handled the question that I had on public faith in these institutions. I think just one of those ways we can ensure we are building that public faith is, as you said, calling in your representative when you're having discussions on serious national issues or even local constituency and ward issues. But when it comes to elections and apathy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on how we can boost that. Looking at the 2022 general elections, there were about 22 million registered voters, and we only saw 16 show up, which means there's a huge population which stayed away from politics. The majority of them actually stayed away from politics, and they are the youth. The running concern that I have when I speak to young people, like myself, when we have these discussions, is they have no public faith in the election institution in general. If we go and vote and it's already decided, I mean, what's the point, right? I shouldn't even worry myself. But these same bills, for example, the finance bill, will affect everyone equally, right? And getting to have this conversation after with someone who didn't vote becomes very challenging. It's like, I didn't vote, you voted for this government, we're deal now. How do we boost that public faith or that faith in these institutions, if that is possible? Or we could work bottom up by ensuring there's election participation. How do we attack that?
First, voter apathy is not just a preserve of Kenya or Africa. Across the world, you have people who are continuously disillusioned with their governments. Even in the developed democracies, voter apathy is very high because increasingly, and this has a lot to do with human nature. The Bible says the heart of man is desperately wicked.
It's yearning to be wicked.
Yes. So this is part of human nature, that you can entrust somebody with a task, and they fall way below expectations, and you're frustrated, you're disappointed, you do not want to engage with them anymore. But what we could do to make sure, and this is speaking to both those who have the ability to influence spaces and individuals, and this is also to people who have lost faith in the system and institutions. One of the things that we ought to do is to understand that even not voting is a vote. The fact that you have let two sides decide, you have side A, side B, and you have 5 million voters on A, 6 million voters on B, your vote could either have shifted that balance, or it would have added a side C. Now, when we're talking about apathy, when I decide not to vote, I think that I alone have decided not to vote. But it is you and 5 million others that have decided not to vote. So you can imagine if the 6-point-something million people who decided not to vote had actually voted a different person. Because what they're communicating is they don't think either of the two sides that were very close together were the solution. But if the 6.5 million people had decided to vote for a different candidate, that candidate would actually have won the election. You would not have had President Ruto or Raila coming close. So you should understand that when you decide not to vote, there's a high chance that
they're saying my one vote doesn't count.
Yeah, but it is your one vote, but you have 5 million other people thinking
the same thing.
So if we all had that same thought, then everything will crumble. But it also goes to again back to the human condition, and number two also what we call Utu. In the southern part, it's called Ubuntu. Utu will tell you that you have a responsibility for your neighbor. You have a responsibility to your children or to your children's children, whether you have children or not. That you have a responsibility to keep and preserve what you have been given, and that is a country. So you can't let that responsibility fall on other shoulders when you have the ability to do something about it. So that responsibility to put up government, that responsibility to ensure that our structures are working must be a personal one. It must first be an individual one before it is communal. It is also, and I'm saying this understanding that there are, understandable frustrations with government and institutions. But it's a little selfish to consume services. You're using a road, that other people are maintaining. You're using hospitals. Yes, you go and pay your small bills, but you can imagine if you went and paid 5,000 shillings where there was no hospital. Will your 5,000 shillings build a hospital? Yeah.
Yes.
So
other people's taxes have built a hospital for you.
We must think of it as a collective. That is the first bit. So that we must be selfless. Number one. Before you get to patriotism, selflessness informs patriotism. So we can't ask citizens to be patriotic if there is no selflessness. There is no utu in the first place. High chances are that if you decided not to vote, if you found somebody lying on the road somewhere and they were beaten up, high chances are that you will also not do anything about it. So it's really a human condition.
It's not just about the voting.
It's not just about the vote. Most of the time, it is people who have lost hope even in humanity itself. But I want to encourage us in this that we can actually do something about the failed institutions. You look at revolutions across the world, and by the way, revolutions across the world have always been started and sparked by youth across the world. If you look at the respective independence that we got across Africa, it was championed by young people. You look at the likes of Samora Machel, Thomas Sankara, Jerry Rawlings, Kwame Nkrumah when he was in his prime, Julius Nyerere. These were people who were young, in their 20s and early 30s. These are the people who birthed this continent. So you can imagine that the youth of today, who in the 60s were very active and they demanded justice, they demanded fairness. The youth of today are saying, we don't care. You do what you want. But yes, unfortunately, your decision not to vote actually affects you.
It's already a decision.
It's already a decision. So understand the frustrations in our institutions not working, but the institutions we were not made for the institutions. We made the institutions for ourselves. And these are inanimate things
that we can change.
That we can change. An individual, how many people are elected today? You have 200 and something members of parliament. You have a cabinet of a few people. I mean,
it's actually a few people.
It's a few people. So if we decided that we want to eradicate these few people, we will do it. But we just have to decide that we first understand that we have the ability and then decide to do something about it.
And we have the responsibility. As well.
Yes.
When it comes to participation, sometimes once someone has lost their faith to humanity and the whole process, some person C will provide a solution which is hata wewe try and vie. Is that something that you feel is also important in trying to help young people participate and engage in governance?
I've heard that a lot. When you call out government, for example, you're told, jaribu pia. There are well-meaning people who would actually want to see, send people get into office. But then there are those who are dismissive. I mean, kama unaona kuna shida si wewe ingie. And it's an escapist, escapist mentality, because not all of us can be, elected representatives. We have only very few positions. But again, because of the human condition, even those we elect, we can't just sit back. We are sort of keeping each other accountable. Again, back to the Utu philosophy, we are keeping each other accountable. So yes, good people ought to vie. But again, the far we have come in the rot that has accumulated in this country is such that for you to vie, if, for example, you wanted to vie as a member of parliament today, you'll be told first you need to start attending harambes, you need to start attending church services and funerals. Find them if you do not know where they are. On your radar. Yes, you need to get money and host a football tournament here and there. You know, those kinds of things. So we develop pretenders in our campaign periods. Somebody who you've never seen. 1 year to the election, they start, giving 1,000 shillings, 5,000 shillings in harambes and church services, and then they host a football tournament, and you think, wow, this is the person. This is the guy. But if you look at the history, he's nowhere. So number one. We also need to be true to ourselves. If we really need or want good leaders, we must elect good leaders. It is unfortunate that, just picture this, that there's a country with the devolution setup we have. You have former governors, people who served in the governor position. 5 governors grouped together. In that group of 5 governors, you have confirmed thieves, you have drug dealers, you have a convicted, car syndicate thief or car thief, and you have people who have looted resources. 5 governors out of 47. Yeah.
That's what we know of.
And that is what we know of. And they were elected having this record. Yeah, yes. You have a governor in the last, from the group of former governors, you have about 3 governors who are known drug dealers. Yeah. They served for 2 terms. Drug dealers elected, by an overwhelming majority. Yes. And you have others who, in their first, not even their first term, when they were serving as members of parliament, they looted CDF. Yes. It is known, and the people actually know that these people looted CDF. Some of them were in court, but they were voted in. That tells us something about, what our condition is collectively. The rot is not just with the leaders, the rot is also internal. Collective condition. So, yes, good people should vie, but are you going to elect the good people?
Where does the disconnect happen between us knowing and us electing them? Because we do know, for example, in this current parliament, the 13th parliament, we have members of parliament who've shot people and some dead. Yes. And these are like cases which happened just before the election period. And we still voted them. Where does this disconnect happen? Is it really our collective consciousness that is conditioned so badly that you can't get away from it, or what is it?
I think we have been over time molested into submission. So things have been happening over the years, beginning with our leaders. The looting in this country did not begin with Kibaki or Uhuru. The looting in this country began with Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta, and we allowed it. We assumed and concluded that a leader should be very wealthy, and they had to find ways of being wealthy. Then came Moi, and the looting continued. We did very little about it until the time when we were now clamoring for multipartyism. And even then, the conversation was not about the corruption. The conversation was, we need freedom to speak. Yes. If we had one man, we need to be liberated from, and it's called the second liberation for a reason. That people were suppressed. The conversation then should have been really about corruption, because we then gave birth to a new crop of corrupt leaders. Even those who are in the trenches, in the civic spaces, some of them are in charge or superintending over huge corruption in this country today. So we should have addressed those issues then. But then even when, and that is why leadership is very important. John Maxwell says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And that means societies can also rise and fall on leadership. So you could be a leader, you have some good people who have entrusted you with the leadership, but then you lead them in the wrong direction. And that is what we've had. We began way back. There was a certain psyche that was imprinted in us that for you to get ahead, you must steal. You speak to people who grew up in the Kenyatta regime, those who are working, they'll tell you, you can't buy a certain vehicle after, you have to wait. Things are slow, take life slowly. Those who came during the Moi regime had it tough. Those who came during the Kibaki Entrepreneur years will tell you, within a week you can actually make it. Kuomoka came with Uhuru
Kenyatta, yes.
Yeah, so we have that shortcut mentality now. It has been developed over time, and it's not like you are born and then you discover these things in adulthood. It even begins in parenting, because parents ingrain these values in their children. Just the way you can have good values ingrained in your children, you can also ingrain bad values in your children. I mean, children are seeing, those who are young now have seen the way their parents behaved. Those who were born in the 90s and early 2000s, they saw the way their parents behaved around money, the way they talked about government. There was this notion when we were coming in with the 2010 constitution that counties kuna pesa. And people were rushing to the counties. Lazima, not because they want to help the people, but because kuna pesa. Kuna si pesa ya salary, unaenda kula.
Pesa ya county.
Yes. People will tell you today that kufanya kazi na serikali, just get something with government and you're good to go. Yeah? So you can imagine as a child hearing your parent saying this, and hearing your parent talk about shortcuts as though that is the way to go.
Glorified.
Yeah, that is how you will also understand corruption as the norm. Yeah. So we have come a long way, but there's not all of us, by the way, are dissatisfied with government. Not all of us, by the way, are dissatisfied with corruption. There are people who enjoy it.
That.
There are people who think things should be like that.
One example is when we have an elected leader who comes back after 5 years, maybe they lose their second bid for elections, and they sink to a level we'd call poverty, or like a normal level.
Yes.
Utasikia watu wakisema na jamaa waste. Alikuwa pale kwa pesa.
Unaingiaje huko na hawezi kula, unatoka free. So that psyche will take us a while to change. The EACC has been doing quite a lot in terms of trying to arrest people who are caught in corruption. There was a time there were so many arrests of policemen, traffic policemen taking bribes, and Kenyans were up in arms, were saying, why are you arresting small time fish? Go for the big fish. But look at it this way, that the people who are charged with enforcing law and order actually engaged in corruption. So who do you begin with? I mean, you must make sure that there is sanity with the law enforcers before you go for the big fish. So even if the EACC was to be given $100 billion every month to fight corruption, it would be very difficult for them to weed out corruption, because corruption is everywhere. Today,
including at the EACC.
Probably, most likely. Though I don't want to say it's there, but yeah, that is debatable. But if today you got into a matatu that is full, and you can see it's full. No one is forcing you to enter, but you can see it's full. Most of the time we say, Makangas force us to enter full matatus. But no one puts a gun to your head and tells you, enter this matatu.
Light even.
Yeah, but you can get into the matatu, it's full. You know what the law says, you should not, get into an overloaded matatu. But you'll get in and stand. And when the matatu gets to a cop on the road, you'll see even the police officer receiving the 50 shillings. You will say nothing about it. But the first point of corruption began when you got into an overloaded matatu. You're actually a lawbreaker. So if you start, you began the cycle. You are breaking the law in the first place, and you are not feeling anything about it. When the Michuki rules, and now just talking about transport, when I think the problem was calling them the Michuki rules because we imagined that they were his, and so after he left, that was it.
Get someone else.
Yes,
rules.
But people complained when Michuki came in with the rules. People complained there were strikes, matatu strikes, but he was very keen and tough, and that is why I talked about leadership being very important.
Yeah.
And we aligned.
And now we
people were getting into matatus, and you had to buckle up, whether there was a cop or not. People were getting into matatus. If it was full, that was it, because there were rules, and then there was strict enforcement. When we discovered that nothing was being done, even those seatbelts today in matatus, are not there completely.
Yeah.
So this has to be fought on very many fronts. Number one, the citizens themselves. Number two, the leaders that we are electing. But if you elect goons and thugs, you know what to expect.
Right.
Yes.
All right. I see why probably some leaders would not even listen to us when you're complaining about corruption. It's like this is distributed corruption.
Yes.
We are all sharing the same fate. Why are you complaining from your end when you're also benefiting in one way or another? So it has to be fought, as you said, in all fronts. Just as we wind up now, I'm curious on how the public can engage, especially on the county level.
Yes.
When we speak civic education, civic participation, it's mostly about bills that are going to the National Assembly.
Yes.
But at the very county level, there are those decisions which are happening on a daily basis. How can we engage and also to boost leadership on those areas?
Okay, I'll try and structure it or itemize it. So I mentioned that the basic structure or unit of government is now the ward. And so with the county engagement, you have first to engage your member of county assembly. And you'd ask how you're engaging the member of county assembly. It is as simple as going to their offices. It is as simple as you have an issue, you go to the member of county assembly. Now, we also need to understand what functions the county government plays and what functions the national government plays. If you're looking at education, early childhood education is with the county. So you have if you have an issue with county early childhood education, you go to the MCA. You don't say serikali tunaomba usaidizi. We want to tell the minister for education do this. There is actually somebody you are paying to work for your interests at that level. When you're talking about trade, if it's a market, for example, the licensing in markets, trade regulation, that is within county level. Perhaps maybe if there's time later, we could actually have that engagement on the functions so that people can understand. But that is the first port of call, the member of county assembly. There's something called the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP. There's also something else called an annual development plan at the county level. Before a budget is passed, when a county is coming in, before a budget is passed, that plan is generated. A county's budget cannot be approved unless there's that plan. The law says that there must be public participation when coming up with that plan. I can bet you 100% that 99% of people in counties don't know or are not even engaged in that plan. The law also says that if a county is coming up with anything that needs public participation, there has to be an advertisement in the newspapers, in a newspaper of national circulation, or the local radio stations, that there should be public participation. So my challenge is, if you hear that public participation has been called for on anything, whether you think it concerns you or not, please find time and attend those public participation forums. The other bit on the counties is to engage the sub-county and ward administrators. Those that are flowing directly from the county executive. They're also being paid by taxpayer money. That is number two. Number three, it's mostly traders who are affected directly, who feel the effects of county bylaws, because the bylaw is passed to not operate in this area, and traders feel it directly. So it's mostly traders who find themselves engaging with the counties. But we ought to get to a point where we tie our services to the county. Garbage collection is a county function. So if you're in a place where you have garbage lying all over, please speak to your member of county assembly, because in some instances you may not get the ward administrator. If they're not close to you, speak to the member of county assembly, because these are issues that they can engage with at their level. That is basically what we ought to do. Unfortunately, we're in a capital economy that makes sure that if you're working from, some people work from 5 to 6 p.m. So you hardly have time to think about any other thing apart from survival. And I think the political class has made sure that is what we are super doing.
Engaged.
Yeah, if you're in Nairobi, you're waking up at 3 a.m. to beat traffic. You get to wherever you're working, you're back at night. You do not have time to engage. Yes. But if you have an opportunity to step into your MCS office, and I insist on MCS because MCS are starting to do very little for the people, step into their offices, barrage them with your complaints and concerns, and make sure that they're delivering. Number 3, I've even lost count of how many things I've itemized.
Yes.
But number 3, which is very important, and I challenge people to do this, we did not elect anyone to address us in funerals, to address us in church services, to address us in harambes. So if you find yourself tolerating addresses from MPs, from MCS, from governors, from senators in funerals and harambes, know that you are a failed citizen. Because if they are coming, and most of them, by the way, you'd go to a funeral and 3 hours is for politicians. Even the family gets only 1 hour to, to engage and whatnot. But if you get yourself in that position where you are seated,
and
you're listening, and they are, lecturing you and speaking to other people who are not in that forum, then know that you are a failed citizen. We have to get to a point where these people are speaking where we paid them to speak.
Yeah.
You are speaking in parliament, we need to hear your voice there. You are speaking in the county assembly, we need to hear your voice there. But if you come and address us in funerals, what are you coming to tell us? And they're not coming with solutions. Most of the time, they are responding to other people.
Yes, political scores.
Yes, who are not even in that county, by the way.
Right.
They're responding to the national...
So that it gets there
exactly.
somehow.
So we need to be very serious about that. If we're attending church services and a politician is in the service, I see no point in them. If they've come as congregants, let them attend as congregants. Yes. So we have to start, shifting things slowly. I have purposed
social settings.
Yes, I have purposed myself that if I'm in a church service where a politician is given time to speak, unless they are speaking about it's an engagement of public participation that they have been given.
Issues of these people.
I will walk out. And if I get an opportunity to get into elective office, that is something I know I cannot do. I cannot go, lecture people in a funeral, in a service,
wedding.
So those are things that we need to be deliberate about if we want change, because you can actually need change but don't want it. So we have to decide that we want
it,
the change. We need it. That is a fact.
Everyone agrees.
Yes, but we need to want it.
Okay.
Yes.
We need to want it. I really love that. Maybe just to close up now at this point, also to invite you another time, because of that level of civic education we'd like to provide to the youth, so that they understand the structures that are there. As you said, MCAs are beginning to do very little.
Yes.
I remember during the first time of this devolution phase of government, I was aware of who my MCA is. I could see him almost every time. This time, he would actually overdo his mandate and I'm like, hey, yo, nowadays I don't even know who that is. We have been so absorbed into national politics that we have forgotten that at the very local level that needs to happen. I had a question on, maybe we could handle this real quick. I had a question on what the youth feel about the rest of the population, which is, well, sisi tunajua, but back at home, my aunties, my moms, my grandparents, they don't know about the finance bill of 2024. So even if I told them that something is happening in Parliament with MPs, they don't know what that is and they don't care much about that. How can we use the youth? We use us to ensure that this education is also getting to all these people. Just a quick response on that, and I would like to know what your thoughts are on what a third liberation would look like for Kenya. Given you mentioned the first two and mostly youth-led, what would a third liberation look like for this generation?
On what the youth need to do, we have, I would call it the social media craze today. That has become a platform for many things. It's a platform for communication. It is a platform for activism on certain issues. But today, if we were to take statistics on social media usage, those who are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, the number of users who there's this thing called get ready with me. Those
GRWM.
We are more focused on such things. We are more focused on dance challenges. We are more focused on those things that keep us entertained.
Dopamine levels shooting
yes,
up.
but if you look at their long-term effect on our condition, they have nothing. There's nothing to report. So if we decided to use social media to engage, there was a time when X was Twitter, when KOT was revered. If you had an issue, KOT would do something about it.
Yes.
But today, the youth of today, and I'm a sports person, so the statement I'm going to make is not because I'm not a sports person.
Okay.
But if the youth of today in Kenya got more interested in their national affairs more than they do European football, would be very far.
Yeah.
But today, the amount of resources we invest, whether it is in gambling, whether it is in time we use to engage in European football, that is a lot of time that I think we can use to change our country. So number one, I don't think the youth need to convince the older generation. Some of them will not be convinced. Whatever they have learnt over time, that is cast in stone for them. But the youthful population is more than the older generation. The other day, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics released a survey, their report, and a survey on youth across the country. And I mean, we are way more if we decided to do something about it. So the challenge for us is to influence each other. Because we are at a point where our minds, can change. Somebody who is 60 today, you tell them they need to vote a different party from the one they have belonged to for the last 40 years. You can't change them. But somebody who is 30, somebody who is 25, somebody who is 20, they still have an opportunity to engage, different perspectives. Most of us have engaged with schooling at higher level, so we have, that capacity to engage different perspectives. So we can speak to each other. We will not die if we don't engage in dance challenges.
Yeah.
We will not die if we don't get ready with everyone. Yeah.
With everyone.
Yes. Your last question on a third liberation.
How is that?
A third liberation would look like what Malema is doing in South Africa with economic freedom fighters. A third liberation for this country will be a more aggressive one than the second. In this
we have a long way to go. We aren't even half as aggressive.
But the aggression could take just one spark in a day, and that is it. It happened in Egypt. Yes. It happened in Turkey. So it happened in Iran some time back. Just a spark, a small event, and
now with
things,
social media, it's
and things shift very, very quickly. So a third liberation for us, I desire that we have it in a phased manner, because if we have it at once, it will be painful. It will be very, very painful. But if we make a decision to make incremental changes, then that serves the society better. The fabric of society remains intact. Because if you wanted to change, for example, some of us have went to school with these fabric sweaters that ukianza kutoa one strand, that is the end of that sweater. Yes. So if you wanted to repair, you have to take out the whole thing or change the whole sweater.
Yes.
So you'd rather keep the fabric intact rather than bring it apart to piece it back together. That is a painful process. I don't think we are at a time where we need that. But if we remain hard-headed, that is the unfortunate. Exactly.
Thank you very much. There's so much you could speak about, and I'm hoping, of course, if you find time, we'd like to have you here again and look at much more of these issues.
Yes.
Clearly, I feel a bit positive now coming out of this conversation. I've been trying to find some positivity, even on an individual level.
Yes.
There's a sense of hopelessness when it comes to what is happening with the country economically and the challenges that the youth are going through. But I think we've gained some valuable insights from you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that is Mr. Philip, who is a governance expert. Mr. Philip Mwangale, governance expert, giving us his insights, of course, on how we can promote youth participation in civic education and create a more engaged and informed citizenry at large. I hope you gained something from today. If you missed out, again, we'll have it on YouTube later, KUTV Kenya. I'm going to take a short break. I'm continuing actually this conversation on youth and engagement in governance and civic education later in the newspaper review section. So tune in for more youth men who are coming through to give us what they think from where they are seated at. This is Biashara Tuesday. The hashtag Biashara Tuesday continues. Tag us on social platforms. We will be right back to read your feedback and much more. Don't go too far.
To look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tutini hapo kinyethio kikatia mademu akipita.
Naweza saa hii nimekuja kukopesa choo.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Tunachimba hadi mizizi kuletea yanayojiri.
So mimi naomba tu serikali yetu ya Mungu, jibarikiwe na Mungu, iweze kuteremsha bei ya mafuta.
Yanayokukumba tuna maizi, tunakutetea sisiri. Ukweli ni speciali tukikupambia makala ya mwanamke mwake. Utasema hupendi mizizi ya habari. Nami Caroline.
Are you healthy, or rather, do you maintain a healthy lifestyle? According to WHO, health is regarded as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. Welcome to Focus on Health, a show on all matters health, wellness, and lifestyle. On this show, we cover a wide variety of topics inclusive of, but not limited to, dental, optical, mental, reproductive health, and so much more. Join me, Joy Bofenda, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on KUTV for compelling insights and discussions on all matters health. See you then.
Focus on Health, your weekly dose of health and wealth information on KUTV.
ready to kickstart your day with the most exciting morning show around. Tune in to our dynamic and entertaining program where we keep you informed, engaged, and entertained from the moment you wake up.
From breaking news and current events to music, fun, and out of the ordinary stories, we've got you covered with a mix of interviews, games, and special segments. You never know what's in store.
Join us every Monday morning
and Tuesday morning
for a fun and fascinating way to start your day.
Don't miss out on the action.
Tune in now and experience the excitement for yourself.
Only on KUTV Rise Today from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Start your day
with us.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable. Uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called the Security Breach Detector and Readiness Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosives.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu. Pepo pa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Jina langu naitwa OKENYE James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
they find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated,
inclusive setups
by providing the right facilities.
Kaunti maarufu kwa kuzalisha maziwa na ukuzaji wa majani chai. Pia, serikali ya kaunti inawahimiza wakulima kukumbatia mitindo mingine ya kilimo kuzidisha mapato.
Kama kuna kikundi moja inafanya biashara ya kuuza kuku, hao pia tumewafadhili kuwafunza jinsi ya kuhandle zile kuku kwa sababu wanaleta kwa wingi.
Haya yote tunakuletea katika Boresha Kilimo, toleo la kaunti ya Bomet. Kilimo ni nguzo kubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa.
need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga tu chini hapo ukinyevia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Sinaweza saa hii nimekuja kukopesa choo.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
Hi, my name is
Jina langu naitwa OKENYE James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
We should just make schools integrated,
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
All right, welcome back to Biashara Tuesday. We just had a very wholesome conversation with a governance expert who's also an advocate, Mr. Philip, who just left off air here. He's informed us on how the third liberation would look like if the youth were serious about participation in matters of governance and also matters of elections. Voter apathy is not something that only happens in Kenya, it happens worldwide. But he says, remember, the decision not to vote is also a decision. It also does count towards that election process. So once you've not voted, you've already made a decision on how that election is going to go. So it's better if you vote. That is one step for us getting closer to that third liberation. We should be very aggressive in reading out corruption, in getting the youth as a space in these conversations, and also in trying to turn around our democracy to be functioning, a functioning democracy. Right, now this is time for us to have a look at the newspaper. The newspaper review section is now live to you. Grab yourself a copy of the dailies. They are still at 60 shillings before they shoot up due to taxes anytime soon. So grab yourself a copy and tuambie what you're seeing from your end, what your reactions are. If you have any other, we have with us here the Daily Nation and the Standard. So if you have any other, please do have a look at that and let us know what it says. But just to introduce the gents who are with me here on set, I have Richard Odero, I have Kemboi Felix, and I have our very own journalist, Ojwang Mariam. Because he's our very own, I'd like him to go first, and then we get the guests to introduce themselves individually. We were yesterday here on the show with Ojwang Mariam. Na feel kama tumekuwa pamoja sana bro. I hope tutachokana.
First of all, I've loved that conversation on politics, governance. It was wholesome vile umesema, and kama umekosa hiyo tafadhali please ensure kwa hii live unarudi tu nyuma kidogo, or wait tuingia hapo tu bado YouTube, you will watch the whole conversation. We are live at KUTV_Kenya. Richard Okenye,
yes.
I'd like to say hi to our viewers, yes, and especially the people of Roysambu constituency, and to remind them that we are live, we are doing newspaper review. Yes. Itakuwa tamu tena zaidi. The Standard wanasema don't gamble with the tax. We'll be telling them why. Thank you so much.
All right, asante sana Ojwang, and welcome back to the show. That's Ojwang Mariam. You can check him out every Monday, by the way, on Art and Culture Monday, where he also does this kind of discussions and much more to help out our culture and our artists in general. Next to him is Bwana Kemboi. Welcome to the show. Please do justice to your introduction.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm Felix Kimgetich Mongo. I come from Baringo County, and also I'm a youth leader from Baringo, and I'm very great to be in KUTV today.
All right.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we have my namesake just right next to me. Just the first time we have another Richard on this show. Welcome, Richard.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Richard. My name is Richard Odero. I'm a youth leader. I'm the founder of Youth Space Kenya. We empower the youth. We do political mentorship, economic mentorship to our youth. I also empower the student leaders across the country.
All right, that's what you're up to with Youth Space.
Yeah.
Youth Space Kenya. Yeah. Maybe just a bit of the things that you guys talk about to let our viewers also be aware.
Okay, under Youth Space, we have created a platform where we put our minds together as youth, where we discuss the issues around the country. We try to empower, whereby we talk the issues affecting us on daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Civic education, just like we are doing it here on this show.
Yeah.
Asante sana. The relevant people to have on this show. Now let's go on. The Daily Nation says here on the headlines, and we'll have the gents also with a copy each, and Ojwang Mariam will be guiding us with the Standard. Harsh reality of new varsity fees. HELB has not been allocated adequate funds to issue loans to all students, and now students and their families are being forced to choose a university course that they can afford rather than the one they qualify for and aspire to study. Yesterday, we had a discussion with Ojwang Mariam on what this problem looks like. If we have students who are qualified to do certain courses, but they can't do them because of the new funding model, one, and because of HELB, which has not been allocated. It has pushed most of those who did their KCSE last year to pursue courses that they qualify, other courses that they cannot afford, that they can afford, rather than the ones they qualify for. Yani, mtu anaweza enda medicine school, but because they cannot afford to do that, they'd rather do something that they afford. This has posed a lot of challenges, of course, as we discussed yesterday, and more of what we are going to talk about here. The Daily Nation says that, meanwhile, first year students who are first to use this new model have already accumulated huge fee balances, which are set to increase even further as they progress. This story is there on page 7 of the Daily Nation. I'd like to bring in first Ojwang Mariam because we had a discussion and he has had time to marinate and think upon the issues.
That reminds me that the AI somehow listens. Jana we talked about this same thing. Na imepewa kipaumbele katika gazeti la Daily Nation. Where are we headed as a nation in terms of matters education?
Yes.
Now, I have friends, OKENYE.
Yes.
Na hao marafiki wangu, they are in the universities. Wengine wako KU, wengine wako UN. They are doing a bachelor's degree that we call bachelor degree education, and another one that is called bachelor's degree of arts. Mostly utasikia wakisema bachelor of being around. But these are talented doctors, talented engineers, talented lawyers. Umaskini ukafanya they can't afford that kind of fee, and they are forced to do courses that they don't have passion about. Ama mahali watakuwa tu placed na KUCCPS. If we continue doing like that, ndio unaona hata wengine wanachukua TVET, wanasema wacha mimi niende TVET badala niende nikateseka huko na maisha ya university. 10 years from now, we'll have a reduced number of graduates from university. 20 years from now, that kind of majority will have added up, and we will be a nation of nothing but foolish Kenyans if we don't take care.
Right. Yeah. Which means we're also not supporting our university institutions that are supposed to help in terms of research. And you can see how that general outlooks look like if we have a nation where we do not have scientists, we don't have researchers, we do not have experts, just like the gentleman who came off air here.
Yeah, and it's so sad that we are going through all this katika enzi ambayo tunaongozwa na rais ambaye ni hustler. Unajua Rais Ruto yeye alisomea UON na bibi yake Mama Rachel Ruto alisomea KU. Wote hawa walisoma kwa sababu ya HELB. Now wao kuingia katika ofisi ile kuu zaidi kwa sababu hiyo ndio ofisi ya kibazu, ofisi ya rais. Alafu unabadilisha funding model, alafu inakuwa ni ngumu kwa hawa watoto kusoma. Watoto wa mafukara, watoto kama wewe ukiwa mdogo, watoto wa mama mboga kama wewe ukiwa mdogo, wengine walikuwa wanauza kuku wakiwa wadogo ndio wasome. Wamekosa sasa masomo kwa sababu they can't afford it.
Right.
You are setting a very bad precedent.
Felix, yes. Here on page 7 of the Daily Nation, it says some 134,743 candidates have been placed in public universities this year. A total of 47,872 students who qualified for university admission after attaining a mean grade of C+ in last year's KCSE did not choose any degree course. Yani wao walisema I'd rather not select any university course given nikam atuta afford anyway, so let me go try and do something else. Of these, 11,000 of them opted for diploma courses instead of degree courses, while 35,000 are still unaccounted for. I just want to also put in some context before I get your reaction on what you feel this is going to paint in terms of our education, our future in the country and education as well. Vile Ojwang Mariam amepeana outlook ya 10 years. In 10 years we'll have very few graduates from university. In 20 years it's going to be really bad because this will have graduated, there'll be parents of other children. It'll be a culture that, you know, mimi sikuenda university na achana na hiyo mambo, wacha tufanye vitu zingine. But there's one thing that President William Ruto did last week that makes this worse. When he came back from the United States, he met with the vice chancellors of various universities and told them to work towards scrapping what he calls useless courses. I wish I had yesterday's paper here with me. It had a detail of some of these useless courses, and we had a look at them, including some in university, in Kenyatta University, like biomedical engineering, which are not accredited by the Engineering Board of Kenya. We have other engineering courses across the country as well, which they are calling useless. When you see this kind of situation, as someone who's involved with the youth, how does the future look like for us?
Thank you very much, Richard.
Yeah.
You know, Richard, if you open a business, there's something known as return on capital.
Yes.
ROC, right? If you invest in university, you spend a lot of money obtaining that particular degree. At the end of 4 years, will you get the return of what you have invested? And
that's
remember, you are going to pay school fees for 4 good years. Besides school fees, there's some other expenses, hostel, food, and many other things, which is very much expensive. And with the current trends, I can see parents are now preferring their students to go to TVETs currently. Let me speak about Baringo, whereby we have an upcoming TVET that is aiming TTI.
Yeah.
It's just a very new school, which it was opened, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. And if you look currently at the population now is very high. This is simply because it offers some very good courses, very marketable courses, in such a way that you only go there for 2 years, do your plumbing, do your electrical engineering, civil engineering, and those skills that you can just use your hand and get paid.
Yes.
And I can see now very many parents are preferring their students to go there.
Right.
Number one, because it is very cheap. You'll also find that like Baringo County funds TVETs. Each student joining TVET right now in most of these counties, number one, they are given 30,000 Kenyan shillings every financial year to study. What about university? How much do people pay for school fees? Very expensive.
Yes.
At the end, no return. You'll find now parents will start changing their minds. Also on help. Help is very crucial. I'm one of the beneficiaries of help. It really assisted me on upkeep and very many other activities while I was in university. I'm a former student from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I studied there for 4 years, and help really helped me. So the government should do something on help to make sure that students get this fund without fail.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's come to Richard, who is also someone concerned with youth affairs in universities, as you said. The student population. The deputy president of the republic stood before graduating class of JKUAT, where you are at, and told them, you're graduating today, but wacha tu niwaambie ukweli kwamba out here you have no jobs. There's no jobs for you, right? And then we see this. There's cuts in terms of help, which is being allocated to students, the new funding model, which is affecting a lot of these students. Is this deliberate? If I was a student, I'd look at it finally that common phrase they say, a degree is useless. Ni kama government is trying to ensure that we don't pursue that. How do I balance this out as a student?
Okay, thank you. First, for me, I look at this point like this. First, we have an issue with the new model of funding. We really have a big issue on the way this thing was done.
Yes.
First, we had a poor piloting of the program. Because, like you see, the people talking, these people are used an old system.
Yes.
For example, the system that I learned is not the same that Ruto learned.
Yes.
So they think maybe because if you see the experience of Ruto, this guy alisoma, akakuwa chicken seller, akamaliza kuwa chicken seller, akakuwa MP. Now, for me, unataka niende shule, I don't need to go again to become a chicken seller.
Okay.
At least I need to do something.
So the problem is they want you to finish university and start that process like you did.
To follow their process. But now, for the people that maybe you have completed your course, you understand the way these things happen. Whereby you finish school, you have to pass through a process, you go to internship, you get work. Then I'll come to the issue of the funding of the courses.
Yes.
I think you have a problem with the funding of the courses. A really big problem. Because you cannot tell me that this course is useless, this is a good course. Which merit are you using to say that this is a useless course?
Which is a good one and which one isn't?
Because our president did, I think, biotech or what?
Yeah,
which course?
Something to do with ecology. Let me just pull it up.
I think it is ecology.
Yes.
Is he doing ecology now?
No. He's president. Yes. So do we consider his degree useless?
Yeah, maybe you can consider his degree useless. Okay. So I think we have to, because now this is a life of a person. A parent has used his money to educate this person. You can't say that this is a useless course. This is an important course.
Yes.
As a government, we need to come up with now mechanism to see that we absorb these people to the job market.
Right.
We also need now to ensure that we put the youth on this on the table. We discuss with them. Don't put these old people to discuss our issues.
Our funding models.
Our funding models.
I see. Because now the decisions which have been made here seem like not even parents were involved. Every parent is complaining, students are complaining. The only person who seems to feel like it's working is the president himself. I just wanted to ensure that we get that correct. President William Ruto graduated in botany and zoology. That was his undergrad, and then I think for his PhD thesis he looked at riparian lands, which are what is affecting us when it comes to heavy rainfall. But I want to read a very dire situation here that is there on the Daily Nation before we move away from matters of education. We have Joseph Raymond here, who wanted to become a human resource manager. However, Raymond was forced to drop his dream course, human resource management, because of financial constraint. He was initially selected to go to Maseno University. He had initially selected himself to go to Maseno University, where it's more affordable. But CUSPS placed him at Kisii University instead for a course that he did not choose, which is way more at 206,635. And this is a regular student, not even the what we are normally used to as SSP or parallel programs. So it seems there was not much conversation happening when it came to this new funding model or what is happening with HELB. But niko na swali ambayo is very challenging, and it's coming from someone who is in TVET. I'm not going to disclose their name. Anasema mnalemea TVET kwani hawafai kusaidiwa. Shouldn't we boost TVET institutions as well? Shouldn't this be something we are celebrating, that, you know, maybe we should have more students go to, as you said, in Baringo, there's a TVET there, 2 years, return on investment. Should we celebrate this? Maybe we can begin with you.
First and foremost, currently, with the current trends of technology, what is very important in the real world currently is the technical skills, the skills that you have in your hand. And if you see, if somebody goes to a TVET, he does electrical engineering. He gets the skills on how to do wiring. You see? When he graduates, currently, if you see with the housing model, there's plenty of job opportunities. And if you see these people doing, for example, electrical engineering, they get paid something like a minimum of 1,500 shillings a day.
Yeah.
What is 1,500 shillings a day multiplied by 30 days in a month? That's almost 45,000. You are a person, you have studied degree for about 4 years, spending a lot of resources, you go work in town here, earn 25,000. You see, that person from TVET is very much far away from you. In the next 5, you know, again, when they continue doing these skills, they gain a lot of experience. And thereby their skills grow every day. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see that TVET is very important nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. Again, when you see, for example, currently, I think President William Ruto is in Korea. He said that he's going to look for these job opportunities. Do you think those people in South Korea can allow you go there with your degree in banking and finance, to be a teller in their banks? They cannot allow.
Yes.
What jobs will they give you? They'll give you those technical skills.
Okay.
The plumbing, the civil engineering, those masonry works. That's the kind of job they'll give you. And you go to a country like South Korea, these technical skills, they pay them a lot of money. That's why you'll find now very many Kenyans lining up in Nyayo House. Yeah.
Trying to export their skills. Yeah. Ojong Mariam, there's a question from a viewer, anasema, ni kama tunalemea TVET when we are saying, you know, we are having less people enroll in degree courses in universities. Anauliza, mbona celebrate kwamba watu wafurahi kwamba TVET finally zinaangaliwa, kuna watu wanaenda, we are churning out graduates. As is mentioned, we have you know, technical skills which are faster to gain there and easier to market. Should we celebrate instead?
Thank you. TVETs sio mbaya, but the whole aspect ya vile tunazichukua ndo mbaya. Ya kwamba TVETs is an option, an alternative for failures, an alternative for poor people who cannot afford kuingia university and other institutions of higher learning. But tukichukua TVET as a bridge whereby after umemaliza your form 4, you've done your KCSE, unaweza ingia TVET yenye iko karibu, sawa? Ufanye hizo course za plumbing, carpentry, masonry, alafu September uende university. But saizi hatufanyi hivyo. We are doing the whole opposite of telling our young students and Kenyans that you don't need that degree. Just go to TVET, ujifunze kazi ya mikono, ukue hustler, ukue mama mboga, ujue kuendesha bodaboda, and then you start hustling. Uingie hapo uhaso, Mungu akubariki upate watoto. Ufike miaka 40, utawahi enda university tena?
Hautajaribu.
Mtoto wako akikuja atakuwa akisoma kutoka kwako. These kids emulate. I look at my daughter, I change. but my daughter looks at me and wants to be me. Kwa hivyo kama mimi ni mwendeshaji bodaboda hodari, nimekuwa mpaka chairman wa bodaboda kwa mtaa, your son will want to be the same. That means your son will not see the need of wewe kuenda university. Na ndio nikasema 10 years watu wako university ama graduates watakuwa reduced. In 20 years itakuwa damage. Whether TVETs are good or are bad.
Okay.
But if we use them come a bridge, then we are making this country to be a very good country.
All right. I actually ties down with what Odero has said there, which was, we are not supposed to also follow the same path as President William Ruto did. And are we probably, maybe Richard, you can weigh in on that a bit before we move to the next thing. Are we creating a workforce for other nations? Kemboya alikuwa mentioned that ukienda South Korea, ukitaka kwenda South Korea, if you want to go to the US, technically, actually, size, if you go to social media and see people who are in the Gulf region, who are in the US, who are in these countries, what most people you see there are doing manual jobs, right? Manual tasks, handy skills. Are we creating a workforce for the nation? Ama tunatengenezea watu wengine huko nje? What do you see from that?
Okay, maybe I'll start with the viewers' remarks.
Yes.
And this is what I'll say. We are not beating that tunalemea TVET. The reality is this. In fact, the reality of life is this. For example, a person who has gone through TVET, he has done maybe a diploma in electrical engineering. You compare this person to a person who has done bachelor's in electrical engineering. These people, wakienda same interview, same job. Do you know this person who has done diploma will get a job?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because
this person has skills. So this is what I'm saying. It's not that TVET is this bad, but if I've done I'm an engineer. I've graduated an engineer. I have a family. So will I raise my child to go through TVET and I see the seeds of engineering through going to the university?
Yes, you'll take them through university.
Then to your question about putting up a
workforce for the other nations.
I think in Kenya we are focusing more on exporting our labor than building our labor force here in Kenya.
Okay.
So we should be focusing on creating a room whereby investors will come, create job opportunity for us all.
So that this workforce is working here in the nation.
In Kenya.
I think my other proposition to the ministry would be equip the universities as much as they do TVETs, so that we have hands-on happening. If it's university and your university, Ilion Kenyatta University doing electrical engineering, get that same hands-on. You have 4 years. I don't see why someone who is doing 2 years at a TVET is able to get the skills way better than someone who's done 4 years.
And maybe to add on, there's a time I did I was doing a research for the Youth Space Kenya. Do you know there's a school called Meru National Polytechnic? They have an engineering program for women for free.
Free?
Yeah, for free. You don't pay anything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something
look at the empowerment that is going to the TVET. If we put this empowerment to the universities,
it's going to be way more.
Way more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just also to add on to what Ojwang said, which is it would be very unfair for me to graduate and qualify to go to university, and then I do not have that as an option. I think that's the saddest reality of this situation. And it's what the title of the Daily Nation says, harsh reality of new varsity fees. We've just had a look at those harsh realities and how they look like for the long term and in the short term as well. Let me give a shout out to the people who are watching us on the live stream, and then we go back to what the Standard has as the main story there.
Maybe George, to add something on the university.
Yes, sure, please go ahead.
A good degree program or the degree system should be something like a pyramid scheme, whereby we have few professionals at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
I feel that there is too much accessibility of degrees, of people doing degree courses.
Okay.
I want you to imagine 10, 15 years away from now, whereby in the entire village, you only get one person graduating. And it was something very big. What about nowadays?
Everyone has a degree?
Everyone has a degree. Now, who will be the boss
of the other one?
Yeah, so I feel there's too much accessibility, and I feel that in the near future, the Ministry of Education should work on the accessibility of the degree.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know one day I'm going to sit on that table, whereby I'll propose a very good education system to work on the education menace that we have now.
Okay.
Not everybody is going to become the boss.
So you're saying we are churning out more than we can absorb in the market?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here I see George Muturi on Facebook, where we are live streaming, and on YouTube as well. Anasema, hi Richard, good to see you. Waiting for a fantastic show. I hope you're having that fantastic show that you are waiting on. Edgar Ndege, today we are up bright and early. Asante sana, Doc. Edgar Ndege, hashtag post-medical interns, KE. I hope they do that very soon. Thank you for tuning into the show. Ezi Ganzo, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Anasema, a good show. Stacy Wairimu, great conversations, OKENYE. Robin's Nest saying, keep it going. Trevor Totona, anasema, show ni fire. Fabish Okoth, also following up on the live stream. Sharon Mwaniki, anasema, always a great show. Keep up the good work. Muhaki Mains, anasema, OKENYE never disappoints. Keep it up. Asante sana for tuning in for that remark. Justin Akinyi, looking great as usual, OKENYE. Asante sana. Great conversations. Yes, tune in to the end. And then we have Lux Life Planners who are saying, good job, Odero in the house. Odero in the house. You've been given a shout out there. Njeri Claire, great to see you, Richard. Great to see you or to hear from you, Njeri. Mugeni Nelly, anasema, Ojuang Mariam, way to go, speak on our behalf. Hope they are listening. I'll be reading more of that feedback. Gentlemen, please let me know what is there on the standard. I can have Felix handle or Richard, whoever likes to pick it up.
Don't gamble with tax.
Oh, don't gamble with tax. Yeah. That is the headline on the front of the standard. It says, don't gamble with tax. Captains of industries are warning the government that tinkering with the taxation regime will lead to businesses shutting down, massive job losses, further increase in cost of living, and failure by the taxman to grow tax collection, which negates the whole sense of collection. Gentlemen, the government of Kenya Kwanza has been very insistent on using the tax using tax as a way of, turning around our revenues and also killing debt. However, it seems from the reports that are coming out of last year's collection, KRA fell short by 300 billion Kenyan shillings. We are going into another finance bill, which should be enacted very soon into law. And we are likely to see the same thing according to the captains of industry who are warning here that businesses will shut down, others will relocate. And of course, the spending power of Mwananchi goes down. Once you tax me more, it means I spend less. President William Ruto is insistent, Richard, President William Ruto is insistent that taxes are a way for us, and he hopes that by the end of his term, tutakuwa tumefika 22%. We are currently at 14%. Yeah, so and I hope that we'll get at 22%. Should we still put faith on the government? I've tried to understand how this is going to help us become a prosperous nation. Some feel like, we should all pay taxes, kila mtu alipe tax, and I agree. However, if you get to 22%, should we be patient enough to wait to get to 22% of taxation, and then maybe we'll benefit from the fruits of taxation? Richard?
I think with the faith, for this government, we already lost the faith 100 days in the office. Yeah. So on this issue of tax, I think it is good we pay tax as faithful citizens, as citizens who love our country. But also, when we are paying this tax, how is our money being used?
Okay.
Yeah. We can't pay tax for you to go all over the country. What are you going to do?
So the issue is the spending of that tax. You have no issue paying 30%, 40%, 50%.
Okay. Another issue is this. Also, we need to be more reluctant a bit to these Kenyans, because you see the population, I think the population of unemployed now Kenyans is high. So you are not creating jobs, you are infusing taxes to Kenyans. You are spending more. If you ask me the most concrete project that this government has done so far, I don't see anything.
You can't point out to anything?
Unless I say Ruto is in Korea and he was in USA for a visit.
Yes. Yeah. Those are the achievements that you can point out.
The achievements that I can point out.
Otherwise, what you're saying is we are spending more, we're taxing more, and we are giving less jobs.
We are giving less jobs.
Okay. Kemboy, Felix, how do you see? Can we tax ourselves to 22% and then eventually tutakuwa kama Singapore?
Okay. As a patriotic citizen,
yes,
and also a future legislator, I've gone through the finance bill.
Yes.
What I can just say on the finance bill first and foremost, before I come to your question.
Yeah.
I've just looked at the finance bill and the policies that has been put on agriculture. It's fairly good, not that bad. On businesses, not that good. And the entire finance bill, I can give it 60%.
Okay. Is it better than last year's 2023?
They have modified it a bit, but not that bad.
Okay.
Some very few sections. Maybe I can just mention the sections.
Yes, please do.
I'm against one, the taxation on assets. You cannot tax assets that are not income generating. The 2.5% tax
on motor vehicles.
It's not something good, because one, you cannot tax that small car someone has bought it to take his parents to hospital. You cannot tax that small car someone has just bought it to take his or her children to school. You cannot tax it.
Yes, because it's not generating income.
It's not generating any income. And I did research, how are they going to tax these all cars? And I found that they are going to tax it using the insurance scheme.
Yeah.
The insurance that you pay it annually. They're going to incur that tax on the insurance. So I can say that's not good.
Okay.
Another part is the introduction of tax on the financial services.
Yeah.
People will run away. People will keep their money in blankets.
Under mattresses.
Yeah, which is not safe. They should just repeal that section. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
For an addition to the motor vehicle tax, because the tax is focusing on the insurance. So if I'm insuring my car, I need to insure the person inside the car. So you will make these people, the person who are insuring their cars, to insure only the cars and forget about the third policies, the people.
So they'll move away from those which are comprehensive cars.
The comprehensive, just to make sure
only
the car.
They attain the 2.5 that is needed by the government. Okay. So taxation on assets which are not income generating is a big issue which has come up here on this conversation. Ojwang, welcome back. We are talking about the standard. Don't gamble with tax. Captains of industries are warning that watatoka Kenya, watafuta watu kazi na watafunga biashara, because the further increase in cost of living due to the finance bill is not making a lot of sense for them. I don't know if it's making sense for you. We've had the gentleman's submissions.
Hiyo itakuwa na only one advantage. There's something that is happening in the country, Richard OKENYE. Ukiangalia vizuri that wakati sisi tulikuwa tunasoma tukiwa primary, tulikuwa tunasoma about tea and coffee being the product that we export the most.
Yes.
But today we are talking about something different. The president will go to Germany, akirudi watatuambia wametutafutia nafasi za kazi 250k. Hao ndo wataenda. Saa hizi tunaongezea tax kwa magari. That means mimi nikitaka kununua gari ndogo nifanye ride hailing itakuwa ngumu.
Yes.
Kwa hivyo nitafanya aje? Nitasave pesa kidogo niende Canada. Nifike Canada ninunue gari huko na nikae huko. Sawa? Wale ambao watabaki huku ni wananchi pekee. When I say wananchi, I mean the big percentage. Na hii big percentage ni hii hadi yenye yendi university. Kwa sababu tukiendelea hivyo university inakuwa ni ya watu few, businesses haziko, bado utaambiwa for you to be a governor you need a degree. Sawa, ulishindwa kusoma. Kwa nini? Bado ushuru. Ukiongezea ushuru kwa haka kitu kadogo, alafu unasikia wale ambao wako na mabiashara. Leo ni Biashara Tuesday.
Yes.
Mabonyenye wa biashara washaanza kuweka warning that if you continue to do this, then sisi kama investors tutaondoka. Investors wakiondoka, kwani sasa kila mtu atakuwa na dudhi yake? Investors wakiondoka, kwani kila mtu atakuwa carpenter, atakuwa anajiundia vitu zake? Hata hiyo bado itakuwa useless.
Okay.
So we need to be looking at these things. Lawmakers wanafaa kuangalia hizi vitu.
All right. Okay. Daily Nation, that was the Standard. Of course, the top story there being don't gamble with tax. The other thing that I'd like to inform you, gents, is that your contribution towards the housing levies, which is something that I'm sure we are all aware of, is being used. I don't want to call it gambling. They are calling it investment because they're putting it in bonds. Now some of the returns will be invested elsewhere. So they're investing my money, but the captains of industry are saying, not gamble with tax. And I see here the people who have been highlighted as the captains of industry is the country manager, East Africa for Tata, which is, of course, that motor vehicle company. We have the ISPAC chairman. Of course, this wale watu wote wa taxation wako under ISPAC, they know of this Venture Capital Association CEO, American Chamber of Commerce, and also KEPSA, which is on that private sector alliance. The CEO of KEPSA says this additional operational cost will make businesses less profitable and result in higher prices for consumers. So that's a very dire situation reflected on the front of the Standard, and you can read for yourself on page 4 of the Standard. Do you have something to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Na inabani, sikuwa nataka upite.
Kusikwachi.
As a country, we need to be listening to these investors. For example, hao ambao wana deal na Tata, ndo watu kuwa na malori fulani zenye hutumika kubeba michanga, kubeba mawe, when you are seeing barabara zikijengwa. So waajiri wao ama wanaajiri nani sana? Wanaajiri hawa watu tunatuma TVET wafanye masonry. Hao ndio wanakuja kujenga barabara. Na wenye watabeba mchanga, watabeba kokoto, watabeba lami, wanasema sisi tunaona tukimalizana na hii biashara.
Kweli.
So hiyo point ni muhimu. Sikiza hawa. You know, this country has a lot of talent in terms of thinking. Look at people like the likes of David Ndii. But what are they doing right now? They're just sitting idle in State House wakingojea kichele. Wako hapo wanasema tafadhali rais usitucheleweshe kichele. But they are not thinking. Why? Because they are not being given that chance to think or to give their ideas. Because I don't believe we would be here if we would be listening to these technocrats and experts.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, something for President William Ruto to think about definitely there. Guys, let's celebrate something. Sindio? To change mood kidogo before we look at anything else that might dampen our mood. On page 2 of the Daily Nation, there is a tuna export mingi sana, tuna export labor sana. We are aware that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has, heritage traced back to Kenya. We know that where else? Ilikuwa wapi pale kwingine? Apart from Obama, we have Sunak, and I will remember the other one. But now, still in the UK, a Kenyan has become the first black mayor in Northern Ireland. She was inaugurated yesterday, and is Senator Olekina's sister. Yes, sister to Senator Olekina from Narok. So Kenyan woman who has made history after being elected councillor in Northern Ireland, United Kingdom, as the first black mayor. And they're pictured here with Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, who was there to witness it, and also nominated Senator Margaret Kamar, and the lawyer the mayor herself. She's called Mayor Lilian Senoi Bar. Mayor Lilian Senoi Bar. Congratulations to her. What do you just have to say? Yeah, and especially Felix, who is very focused on leadership matters. We have here our first black mayor. Uko nje. Tuna export more than, TVET and that level of expertise. Anything to celebrate there from you, gents?
From me, I think congratulations to the lady.
Yes.
And also this just shows that women are able. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Felix?
First and foremost, I just seen it on TikTok today morning before I came here.
Okay.
And I would like to say congratulations to the family of Olekina. He's my good friend.
Okay.
And this is a plus for Kenyans. By the way, Wakenya wanajituma huku nje.
Kila mahali actually.
Kenya wanajituma.
Yeah. Tunajituma sana. Ni vile sometimes unajituma Kenya lakini ni kama results hazipo. Ni kama ukikanyaga tu nje hivi. Like ndo hii the fruits of my labor.
Hata ukichelewa hiyo kujituma unatumiwa.
Unatumika.
So first of all, congratulations to Olekina's sister. That is a big milestone.
Yes.
This is closer home than Sunak's or Obama's. Yeah, it's closer home.
It's way closer actually.
So we have to appreciate that fact that we are going somewhere.
So we do have leaders.
We have leaders. Right? We have everything.
Why don't we have her here in Kenya as president? I mean, or Nairobi governor. If we can export this kind of leadership, as you said, it seems we are stifling the people who are supposed to be voicing the opinions that are progressive. Because when we witness it outside the nation, it seems to be working. Lakini tukiwa hapa internally, there seems to be a problem. Maybe you just can tell me where the problem is.
You know, the problem, Richard, is that the Kenyan democratic system is very much local. That's why you'll see it's very hard to see these professionals, technocrats, to get into politics. They cannot survive the political mood.
Okay.
The political mood is very much hot. You can ask me because I'm always in the ground in the weekends. You cannot be able to vibe with the citizens there. You'll not get to these positions. And the way these people do to entice these citizens there, these professionals cannot do them.
Yeah.
You'll not get these Olekina sisters coming to campaign in Kenya.
Yeah.
You'll be kicked off because
you have no position.
Yeah, the political mood is very hot.
The politics that is played in Kenya is different.
Yeah, very hard.
If she tried to be governor of Nairobi County, itakuwa ngumu sana.
Very hard.
What do we do then? Maybe Richard can tell me. What do we do? Do we change the whole style of politics? I'm a journalist, right? Here on KUTV Biashara Tuesday. If I wanted to become governor of Kisii County, it seems from Felix itakuwa ngumu sana mimi kwenda kuambia mambo ya civic education, to tell them about the finance bill. There's a way I need to vibe with them. Should we maintain that trajectory? And it means because we are putting people in power clearly who aren't supposed to be most of the time. And amesema it's the politics that we play here doesn't allow experts and technocrats to get into power. What do we do?
I think the Kenyan politics is too dirty for the professionals. You can't go in.
Okay.
It's too dirty. So I think what we need to do, I think we need to sensitize more on the voters, because the voters are the ones who make decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sensitization in terms of...
I think now we need to lobby these groups, the NGOs, to sensitize more on the voters.
Okay.
Because more of the voters in Kenya, they only listen. They don't really go and see the profile of a politician.
All right.
Then also you see also the names you are giving to these people. They're saying politicians. In America, they're called leaders.
Okay. Leaders, politicians.
Leaders and politicians.
Lakini kuna
politicians only say good things that you want to hear.
Kuna mahali ningetaka at least correct kiasi.
Okay.
You know, he is another rich man on this bench.
Yes, we have two rich men.
So I wouldn't want rich men to be telling us things that may be problematic in future. When you say that Kenyan politics is too dirty for professionals, manze huo ni uongo. Because these politics are a reflection. Politics is a reflection of the people. Sawa.
Yeah,
so if you say that the politics is dirty, it means we are all dirty. Si uliumbwa na matope. So haimaanishi mwenye ako profession ameenda akaoga akabadilika. Ni the same people, ni the same animals in this, and the same pigs in this animal farm, because we are living in an animal farm.
Yes.
Sawa. That is why hata Barack Obama, former president,
ajaribu kuwa MCA,
ajaribu kukuja hapa Kenya kukuwa MCA, itakuwa ngumu. Si ati haiwezi, itakuwa ngumu, because the Kenya has had leaders who are still there. People like Professor or Dr. Mukisa Kitui. He wanted to be the president of this country.
But you don't give him a chance.
Hatukumpatia chance.
Okay.
Angalia another technocrat, Jimmy Wanjigi. Jimmy Wanjigi is an economic master. Hapa kwa akili ule mjamaa unamsikizaga unakuwa rich just from listening. Look at the policies he talks about in all these media houses. You will see the guy is wise. And he's a living proof. He has been there. It has worked. He's among the people who are in the boardrooms deciding how Kenya will have a super highway, how Kenya will have a standard gauge railway. Na hizo ndo vitu zilikuwa zinafanya wa fund gava 2013, but sasa hiyo gava ikufika, yeye na David Lagat wakarushwa nje katika huo mpango. But what if us as Kenyans, we give such people opportunities to lead this country? For example, one day Kenya iamue na inataka Jimmy Wanjigi kama president, alafu iweke Okia Omtata kama DP wake. Manzi tungekuwa na country smart sana. Lakini
we are all in the same pigsty.
The politics are tribal. We have to accept that.
Yes.
Sasawa. And we change that ikuwe a positive thing. Such that wewe kama mwanahabari, you will take civic education pale kwa ground. Sasawa. For example, kwa shughuli mimi ufanya Roysambo kama kutangaza mpira, hapo hivyo wanaalika watu, unakuja una interact na sisi, si ndio? Ukikuja hapo hivyo, let these people know at least roles za hao viongozi wao and why you should be electing people on issue based politics and not tribal. But usisahau hata ukielectiwa, at least ukwe kwa party yenye iko kwa hiyo tribe, because we've said we cannot escape the fact that Kenya's politics is tribal. Sawa. So when Rais says tanga everywhere, it's a good thing. But as you tanga, usikuje kutuambia umeleta rambirambi za mwenda zake, unaacha 1 million, unakuwa umeshaosha pesa, unaishia. Give us something, tell us something.
Yes.
And when you tell us something, don't tell us vile naibu rais ni mbaya, rais ni mbaya, governor ni mbaya.
Tuambie vile wewe ni mzuri.
Tuambie vile wewe ni mzuri. Jipigie debe. Because hapo kwa kujipigia debe, you'll be selling your ideas that you have, and you'll not be selling yourself. Also, Wakenya wazoee kuongea at personal level. Tukipatana hapa hivi na Kemboi is Kemboing from where? Upande wa Baringo. Sawa. Nitoke hapa hivyo nipatane na 2 rich men. Mmoja anatoka kule Lakeside, mwingine ni Okenye atoke upande wa Kisii. When we converse, we will converse about ideas that can help this country. Lakini tuko wapi? Kwa ground kwenye Kemboi anasema. Ndio tukipatana tribal politics iko tukatai. But in that small community, you can do a lot.
Yes.
So,
all right.
I just want to come in and say why I said this politics about
it's dirty.
Yeah, it's dirty. I've been to politics, student politics. Felix has been to student politics. I tell you one thing. You go to a crowd, you tell the people, I want to build this. They will not listen to you. These people want you to hit your competitor hard. That's why we see Gachagua telling Uhuru, you said this, you say this is that professional people can't, you can't hear professional people issuing insults, doing this. So unless we now educate our voters, we sensitize them. Now you need to listen a leader. This.
Yes,
you don't know, because you go to a crowd. I've been to a crowd, a political rally. People are just waiting to hear that nimetembea na kachai kidogo, nikimaliza mkutano. Now that's where they will howl and shout. But the time that the politicians say I need to build this and this, hakuna mtu anakusikiza.
But I think also the challenge there is because we don't know if he is mandated to do that. You notice during a political campaign, MCA atasema anatengeneza barabara, MP asema anatengeneza barabara, governor asema pia anatengeneza. Yani everyone is probably just copy pasting manifestos across each other. So ukikuja kwa Mkenya and you're trying to become an MCA, uambie hii barabara kutoka hapa hadi huko Kiunguro nitatengeneza. MP next week akuja niambie pia the same thing. It gets to a point where there's nothing much to listen from these people other than aniambie, as you said, amebeba ngapi na atanipatia sangapi. But yes, the positive proposition comes in that as you're in those engagement forums, ambia watu MC anafanyanga hivi. When we had just this discussion a few minutes ago with the advocate on air, which is Philip, who said, tell them MCA anashughulikia hii na hii. So akikuja anza kukwambia atatujengea unajenga hospitali kama nani? Mwambia relax. Just tell us the things that you are mandated to do, so that it's easier even for citizens to know and discern between who is an expert and who is just politicking, right?
And these politicians with goodwill hata hao wanaweza sukuma civic education.
Yes.
Si hao watu wanataka kujua ni saa ngapi unawapatia hizi pesa. Juu wanataka pesa. Mama mboga anataka kakitu pale chini. Au vijana wa bodaboda wanataka kakitu. Do this. Sawa. You have money. Wewe ni mnoma kutuliko. Juu wewe uko na pesa. Chukua hizi pesa, organize wa mama. Sema leo ni wa mama. Kwa hiyo zamu ya wa mama, ingia, waambie wakuje kama kwa hall. Sawa. Waambie andikeni majina. Sawa. Na mweke hizo vitu zenye wanatakaga waeke ndio pesa zitumwe. But before kuwapatia hizi pesa, they will listen to your agenda. Na wako kwa hall. Hall ni yenye iko controlled. It's controlled. Kama wewe utaki kunisikiza, basi nyanyua kiguu, angalia njia. Sawa. Mimi nimekuja hapa kutenda wema, na wema wangu hawezi kuwa tu hivi hivi. I can't just come and give you my money.
Pushing out money.
Yeah, right. I must teach you something that you will live to remember. Kwa hao watu 50 utapatia kila mtu 500. Zitakuwa ngapi? 25k.
Kila mtu 500.
25,000.
Yes.
Umetumia 25,000, umeelimisha watu wangapi? 50. Si ndio? Kwa hao 50 wenye utaelimisha, kuna wenye walidoze. Hao ni kama 10. Lakini at the end of it all, kuna at least half who will go home knowing the roles of an MCA, knowing the roles of an MP, knowing the roles of a governor, and knowing why I want to be an MP. Sawa?
Okay.
Na umewape civic education proper.
Na bado umepiga campaign.
Na pesa.
All right.
Campaign.
Also, another thing I think, also voters were falling into the trap of the politicians, whereby we allow to be told too much that is a lie.
We have accepted it.
We accepted it. So, also as voters, we need also to measure these people.
Yeah.
Like, you see, you will find like a person like, there's a time I was hearing something with Oscar Sudi. He was saying, I don't need to go to parliament. Now, this a person who has been voted in to go to parliament 3 times.
Yes.
But he says, I don't need to go to parliament. Kuna wale wa kuongea uko parliament.
Yes. There's a problem with a collective conditioning.
Yeah. Na huyu mtu akisimama bado
tutamweka ndani.
So,
na unajua anakudanganya lakini bado tutamweka.
So then also to these rallies, I think also the politician need to put more focus on where the impact will be achieved. Because mimi nikihaya a crowd to say, ndawaambia kitu, watasikia kitu mimi nawaambia. Na most people who go to this crowd, hata si watu wako na say sana. It's only a person mwenye, haya, ndapewa 200 na huyu hata mtu hata vote. Sikia kuvote yako kwa hizi vitu Gachagua anapigana na.
Maybe to add on something.
Yes, Felix has something to say.
You know, you'll find that these people again use the problems that the normal wananchi have as a political tool.
Yeah.
Where I come from, Baringo County, you know what's really disturbing us there is banditry.
Yes.
This banditry, since I was born,
has been an issue.
The same politicians, their banditry is their campaigning tool.
Tutamaliza bandits.
They have been campaigning it in 2002, 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022. And now, let me just speak it because today I'm privileged to be in KUTV. I think today, the 2022 will be the last election in Baringo County, whereby we have politicians campaigning on banditry as a political tool. It is very much punitive, primitive to the citizens. You know, I really feel what those people go through. They go through a lot. And with the current generation, us now, I'm 23 years old. As far as we have learned, I'm a student of public administration and leadership. I know how to deal with citizens. And as far as matters to do with security is concerned,
yes,
it should just be left to the security apparatus
to deal with it.
The politicians should just move out of it.
Stay away from it.
Because they are the ones altering the rate of insecurity there.
Yes.
So they should just leave it there. And I think 2022 will be the last year in Baringo County whereby politicians will not campaign against banditry. It's very bitter.
Yes, I have a question for you there, Felix, which is, I like what you're proposing there, that, we should avoid such matters, especially when it comes to things that will be handled outside of politics, kama security. That's something that's completely 100% outside of politics domain. This is something the national government will always handle regardless of what government is in power. Because we have KDF, we have security personnel, we have the police force, which is something that is infinite as compared to the terms of a government. Richard Odero said earlier that, inakuwa very hard for an expert like yourself who's now gone through school and studied public administration to stand in front of people and tell them policy-based issues. How would you do it differently when it comes to Baringo, given that all the other politicians watakuja wasimame kwa podium waseme mambo ya bandits tuta deal nayo, mambo ya bandits tunapambana nayo, and thus the people will hear it. Is there space for you to come and say, tuachana mambo ya bandits, hapa tuna barabara, hapa tuna hospitali, hapa tuna stima? Is there still space for that?
For example, a county like Baringo, we only lack 3 things. 1 is strategy. 2 is policies. 3 is competence.
Okay.
We'll find that the policies that we have there does not favor the normal wananchi. Speaking of the banditry, those people they scramble over the limited resources, water and pasture for their animals. So that you see, so that you'll also see them fighting every day, in, out, daily.
Yes.
So the solution is provide them with water pans, very many water pans, put them to electricity so that they can actually see the other part of the world. In those regions, there's no TV.
Like shut off
there's
from
no
the
TV.
world.
They should connect electricity. They should focus on the socio-economic part of it, rather than the putting more police officers. It's very relevant because they'll just continue because they're fighting over the limited resources. 2, on the policies. On the county like Baringo County now, I was just seeing, I was from home some 2 days ago or 3 days. You'll see that Baringo County, there's plenty of sunlight. Plenty of sunlight. But what do you see on the street lights? The street lights that is around the towns, that is Cabernet, Marigat, Eldama, Ravine, Mogotio. The towns uses the electric floodlights. They pay millions of bills to KPLC. Yet we have plenty of sunlight. Yes. That's all about policy. We don't have good policy that favor our people.
Okay.
And that's the work now that I'm focusing to do in future.
Right.
And I'm very determined, and I know I'm going to do it.
And that will handle that third part, which is competency.
Yes.
We have a shortage of competent leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. Ojong, you had something to say, I think.
OKENYE.
Okay.
Yeah, I have something.
He always have something to say. Say it.
Kenyans need to be bold. Kenyans need to be honest with themselves. Juu hii shida yote ni wa Kenya. Kenyans should be bold enough to ask Speaker Wetangula, when you were elected, you were Kenya Kwanza. But when you become Speaker, you become National Assembly Speaker.
Become Kwanza Kenya.
Kwanza Kenya, not Kenya Kwanza. Inakuaje kuna 86 sessions wabunge wana miss and you cannot tell them anything?
Oscar Sudi EG.
Yeah, for example, Oscar Sudi, who has been on public record telling Kenyans that mimi sishindagi nikienda hiyo bunge. Kuna watu wa kuenda kwa hiyo bunge. Mimi niulizeni vile nitaenda Tanzania, ni watafutie kichele, kisichelewe. Ndio nikikuja katika hii mikutano yenyu, maombolezi, nini, nimebeba nini?
Niweke mbele.
But una fail on representation. Your role as an MP, your representation, una fail. So Kenyans should be bold enough and honest enough to tell Moses Wetangula, as a speaker, if you cannot do this, if you cannot keep the house in order, resign.
Get out.
Sasawa.
Yes.
Same Kenyans, if they are bold enough and honest enough, they should go to those MPs who have missed these sessions. Sasawa. Waambie wewe, tunakurecall.
Yes.
You are not representing us, you are representing the people of Tanzania.
Yes.
Sawa.
I see it.
So resign, tafuta kiti ya Iyala, ukue na sasa nguvu ya kutembea.
Tanzania.
Ukue unaenda Tanzania.
Yeah.
Sawa, utafute suluhu huko. Kwa sababu we believed in you that ukienda kwa bunge ya Kenya, you will give us that suluhu to this barabara shida yake, to this security shida yake, but how to represent.
Right.
Na sisi tumenyamaza. Kwa nini? Hata akikuja hapa hivi ataongea hivyo vyote, akuwa mpiaro, atutusi na atupatie milioni 1. See, the enemy is poverty.
Yes.
They will focus on the money and not on keeping these leaders on check.
Yes.
Makosa ni nani?
Makosa ni yetu.
Yes.
Right, citizens. I remember us having this conversation with Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who kept saying that he blames the citizens. And just off air in just a few minutes ago, we spoke to Philip Mwangale, who also said we are all sharing from this. Let's imagine a pizza table. Wewe ni mwananchi pale, hiyo side nyingine unakula kale ka piece ulipatiwa. Huyu mwingine ako hapa yeye anakula piece kubwa, lakini wewe una complain ukikula. Unapiga kelele ukikula, instead of keeping this guy on the other end into check, so that they are also following through with what the mandate is giving them in the constitution. The other thing is, I like what you pointed out there in terms of looking at who these MPs are who are skipping sessions. Now, unaenda unawatafuta. We have a democratic process that doesn't end just at the elections. Tusha-elect, ushaingia parliament, ushaingia kwa serikali. But bado naweza kurudisha.
I can recall.
Yes, that's the thing that we normally forget. Just go look at that list who have missed the 86 sessions. Enda kwa ofisi yake, mwambie mbona na miss sessions na anaongeanga nini, because they're supposed to be making decisions every Tuesday and Thursday of the week. Right. So let's move away from that, because we only have 3 minutes. We'll have 3 minutes, like completely 3 minutes. So I'm going to allow you, gentlemen, if there's a story you've seen that you'd like to say for under a minute, we point out as you do your final remarks as well. Let me start with Richard. Is there something that...
Okay, just point up on this story of Linturi.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it is high time for them just to put aside this guy.
Yeah.
It's now.
Okay.
You see now, agriculture is the core business of Kenya. Now, if you are putting an incompetent person to do that, this is very wrong.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Bwana Felix, is there something of importance that you might have left from the papers that you are handling there?
What I can just say, still on the finance bill.
Yes.
And I feel and urge our MPs, because the finance bill is being handled by the National Assembly, led by the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah. I can just urge them to look at some very, very important areas where it affects the life of the normal wananchi.
Yes.
Because life is really hard outside here. Citizens are going through a lot. And if you look, we are now remaining with exactly 2.5 years to election, considering that we only have 2025, because if you are in, the Kenyan politics, 2026 will be
campaigning period.
So these people only have this remaining part of 2024, of which it's really ending.
Yeah.
Meaning they only have 2025 to work on the citizens. So I think this finance bill is very, very important, and they should utilize their time on it. Do some review on the places that requires review. For example, this is the 2.5% of the vehicle tax, and some very, very important issues, especially matters to do with agriculture, business, and education.
Yeah.
They should look at it critically. Thank you very much.
Our key pain points, those.
Yeah.
Agriculture, education, security as well. Ojong Mariam.
Okay. On my part, I think I need to say this.
Yes.
Sisi kama wa Kenya, we need to exercise 3 values. Ikiwezekana, kila mtu akae chini, ajisomee, ajiweke na ajitrain. Kitu cha kwanza, Kenyans need to be calm, Kenyans need to be patient, and Kenyans need to be tolerant. Sawa?
Yes.
Why am I saying this? On Daily Nation, page 3, a 19-year-old assaulted and fought on camera in a record akipiga traffic officer. Do you know why? Kenyans are angry. Kila mtu amejaza stress. Sawa. What we are forgetting ni Ian Njoroge, 19 years of age, yeye ako na stress, yeye ako na mashida zake. Lakini hata huyo polisi wa trafiki, hata yeye ako na shida
zake mingi.
So if we don't become calm, patient and tolerant, then tutauana. Kwa sababu unakaa unasikia KDF na Kenya Police wamepigana.
Nashangaa inakuaje tena. Sawa. Kijana fulani 19 years kamekula vizuri, kamevaa jezi ya Lakers ya Jordan number 23, kameweka kanguvu kiasi, alafu Karawa anamwambia nye itafanya utwangwe. Itaongeza bubu mbele.
But what happens if you twanga a traffic police officer? You will be raided on.
And you'll be twangwad as well.
Especially if you are a man. You will be pinched. You will be slapped. You will be disciplined. Sawa?
Yes.
And you will go to hospital. Umeanza shida zingine za tukochangie kwa sababu uko hospitali, mara umevunjika, mara umefanya nini. Solution ni gani? Kenyans need to be calm. Kenyans need to be patient and tolerant with each other.
I like that. Thank you very much, Ojwang Mariam. Thank you very much, Felix.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Richard, for that time. We'll just like us to end it here. It's 9:57 in the morning. Thank you for all those who tuned in to this show. Check out the rest of the headlines which are there within the dailies. For example, that story of the young man who was beating up a police officer. You can read the whole operation on page 3. And page 4, wanasema trade lobby urges MPs to reduce motor vehicle tax. Insurers have rejected the new taxes in the finance bill. Captains of industries are saying they're going to shut down businesses. And there was a tanker blast, which I highlighted in the traffic updates, which happened yesterday around Feather Estate. So you can also read up on that one. And the new varsity funding model, which is the headline of the Daily Nation, the harsh reality of new varsity fees. Given that student politics pia zilikuwa stifled with the new act, itakuwa very hard for students associations kutetea their students. But hopefully, the more we have this kind of discourses, we are progressing in terms of ideas. Thank you very much, gents.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you also for tuning in from home at KUTV Kenya. This has been Rise Today. The edition is Biashara Tuesday. Thank you for having or sending us your feedback also on social platforms. Please do follow the rest of KUTV's broadcasting. Follow me on social platforms where I have these conversations outside of TV at Richard_OKENYE. Rise Today will come back next week on Monday. It comes to you from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. On Monday, you have Ojwang Mariam, who is there. Yes. Ojwang Mariam on Monday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Art and Culture Monday. Alafu mimi Tuesday, kama kawaida, Biashara Tuesday. I'm going to leave you with one word that may your profits be high this week, but your sense of humor should be way higher so that you can laugh all the way to the bank. I'll see you around.